जी का
Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Law and Justice and Parliamentary Affairs also, Sri Arjun Ram Meghwal ji, Honorable Attorney General of India, Sri R. Venkatramani ji, Mrs. Venkatramani ji, Sri S.K.G. Rahate, Secretary Department of Justice, Professor Nageshwar Rao, Vice Chancellor IGNOU, distinguished audience, and in particular boys and girls. I am grateful that I have been afforded this great opportunity to share my thoughts with you all on the great occasion when we will be entering after 2 days 75th year of our Republic. When I entered the premises, I had the good fortune to be blessed when I paid my tributes to the architect of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He means a lot to all of us. Not only he was architect of Constitution of India, his rise to that position was not easy. It was Caesarean, very difficult. He faced great problems. He took them in stride. When I became Member of Parliament in 1989, and that was a long time after we adopted the Indian Constitution, I looked at the list of those who had been given Bharat Ratnas. Dr. Ambedkar was not one of them. It was my good fortune to be part of the government and part of Parliament that did justice to one of the greatest sons of Bharat by awarding him in 1990 Bharat Ratna, 31st March 1990. He should have been awarded Bharat Ratna much earlier. In the same stream, as indicated by the Honorable Minister, and for the same cause, a great justice has been done to another great son of soil from Bihar, Karpuri Thakurji. These two distinguished persons who have got it posthumously were entitled to this embellishment, highest civilian award, during their lifetime. Remember, my dear friends, people have been given Bharat Ratna during their lifetime. It is good, belatedly, we have a mechanism where there is due recognition to the tallest people who have really created Bharat in which we are living. Amrit Kal has been utilized as a great occasion to remember those who made us proud Indians. Parakram Divas, we had the occasion to celebrate it yesterday. It took us so long to remember the contribution of Netaji, so long. But soothing to note that in past decade, justice has been done to Netaji in various ways. Visit of the Honorable Prime Minister to Andaman Nicobar Islands. Naming those islands, when 75th celebration of Netaji's army took place, Prime Minister was there at the fort. A great recognition. Our heroes of freedom, the list is long, but our boys and girls came to know as if it was in single digit. We have rediscovered our Bharat emotively, nationally, and we have Janjatiya Gaurav Divas, 15th November, Birsa Munda. Look at the way we have put our Bharat on global platform. Yoga is something which we had in us for thousands of years. But gratitude to the Indian Prime Minister of a country that is home to 1/6 of humanity, that he could make this declaration in United Nations. In the shortest time, the largest number of nations came forward to support this. And 21st June is International Yoga Divas, celebrated in every nook and corner of the planet. The last one was indeed historic. The premises were precincts of United Nations. It was our Prime Minister there, and we had the good fortune that the entire world participated. I was there at the national event at Jabalpur. A great day. Look at another great milestone, 23rd August 2023, Space Day, because Chandrayaan-3, backed by the power of both genders, landed on South Pole of Moon, created history because no country's space vehicle had landed on that part of the moon. We had Space Day. Look at another significant day. We waited for so long to do justice to half of humanity. Particularly in the last 3 decades, efforts were made to secure justice to our sisters and mothers, that they must become participants in governance by way of a constitutional mechanism. That was expressed by Ambedkarji. It fructified. And 2 days are east in history. Note them. 20th September 2023 and 21st September 2023. On 20th September 2023, Sri Arjun Ram Meghwal, whose life has been very tough, I know it personally, comes from a very vulnerable segment of society, got into civil service, facing all difficulties, became a district magistrate to be remembered by one and all, got people's mandate. He introduced that bill to give justice to half of humanity. He is present amongst us. He did so in Rajya Sabha also. And that was a proud moment because he was fulfilling the dream of our founding fathers of the Constitution, led by Dr. Rajendra Prasad and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was fulfilling the aspirations which our womanhood had waited for decades. And look at the changing profile of Bharat. What was passed by Parliament, both houses, became a constitutional provision when under Article 111, Srimati Draupadi Murmu signed it. A tribal lady occupied Rashtrapati Bhavan as the first citizen of this country. I have said all these things because, as rightly highlighted and focused by the Honorable Minister, our Constitution spinal is very strong. Our Constitution has enabled us to traverse the difficult terrain and record epochal developments. If we look at our constitutional journey, we did have a dark chapter, a chapter which we can never have now. No one on the planet can generate a system, a mechanism pernicious ecosystem, depriving human rights, putting people in jail by thousands with no rights available to them. I am referring to declaration of emergency. I want boys and girls to know when the president signed it, what hour it was, how this could happen. Constitutional prescription is loud and clear. The president is bound by the advice tendered by Council of Ministers. Was it by Council of Ministers? That was the darkest, shameful period of our constitutional history and a blemish on our otherwise sublime civilizational journey of 5,000 years. We never had those in governance going to that level as to deprive millions of their fundamental rights and putting them in jail. Those who were put in jail became prime ministers later on, many of them. That was a shameful period. That was also the time we expected another organ of the state will rise to the occasion. The judiciary. Unfortunately, for judiciary also, it is one of the darkest periods. 9 high courts in this country, 9 high courts, boys and girls, 9 high courts, in one voice, took a stand. Emergency or no emergency, fundamental rights of the people cannot be put on hold. They are ever alive. You can go to the court to vindicate your fundamental rights. Indian Constitution has enabled its citizens to directly have access to the Supreme Court under Article 32 for vindication of fundamental rights. Unfortunately, painfully, and a pain which people like Dhankhar will always harbor in their hearts. He would ever wish in ADM Jabalpur Supreme Court had not overturned those 9 high courts. But 2 of the distinguished judges of that judgment, the Chief Justice and his number 2, very distinguished judges, they had the occasion to express their public regret. One of them, the second senior most then, expressed it in an interview when he attained the age of 90 years. But friends, there can be no regret allowed when people fail in constitutional positions. When we are in a position of constitutional authority, we have no alibi. We have no escape route. We have to vindicate the trust imposed in us by the Constitution. Friends, this journey of 75 years and a little before that independence, midnight of 14th and 15th August, we had tryst with destiny. Our parliament met at midnight. The first Prime Minister ended a speech. That started our journey. Then we had another tryst with destiny of a different nature, which in one of my address I had called tryst with modernity. That has changed the entire landscape of our business, our governance. This tryst with modernity was also at midnight. It was the night intervening 30th June and 1st July 2017. My good friend and a great son of this country, Arun Jaitley, is not amongst us today. He worked hard for it. The Honorable Prime Minister and the President being there unfolded the world's largest, most impactful transformational tax regime, GST. It was at midnight. This tryst with modernity, we in this country have a small section of the... We should never be against criticism. Criticism helps us. Criticism is positive. Criticism gives energy. But condemnation, thoughtless condemnation, and look at the wonders which GST has done now. When we go into the record collections every month, we are proud of it. Goods and service tax has indeed become good and simple tax, and the world is amazed at it. Look at the second technological situation which the country had. We were faced with pandemic COVID. It affected the entire planet in a non-discriminatory manner. High and mighty, rich and poor, people of all sects and religions were bled by pandemic. But ours was the only country that faced it. And while facing pandemic successfully, then for a population of more than 1.3 billion, we assisted more than 100 countries. But what is outstanding and significant is that your co-vaccine certificate was electronically available. More than 200 million people had it electronically available. The entire population had the benefit of it. A great achievement by this country. Friends, tryst with destiny, tryst with modernity, and we had on 22nd January 2024, tryst with divinity. The day is etched in the history of this country for several reasons. The consecration ceremony of Ram Lalla in Ayodhya on that day marks three things fundamentally. One, this country believes in rule of law. The passage to construction of Ram Mandir took very long, was hurtful to the sentiments of millions and millions of people in the country and many outside. Every day was very painful. Still, in this land of Gandhi and Buddha, in this land which has civilization at depth of 5,000 years, it was in accordance with law. And that was a great achievement. Second, it reflected the will of the framers of Indian Constitution. I am pained and I will appeal to the Honorable Law Minister. Our young boys and girls are not exposed to the Constitution which has been signed by the members of the Constituent Assembly. That document, Honorable Minister, you will find is a different one. That document contains 22 miniatures. They are positioned thoughtfully above each part of the Indian Constitution. When you had the occasion to see a small film indicating those things, I saw what was there in the pillar at Somnath. It was there. If we look at the first part, second part, it reflects Gurukul and our ancient civilization. If you look at the miniature above part 3, the part concerning fundamental rights are quintessence to democracy. They are inalienable facets of democratic values. You cannot claim to be living in a democracy if you do not enjoy fundamental rights. We curse emergency of the darkest period because fundamental rights were sabotaged. In that part, you have Ram, Sita and Lakshman coming back to Ayodhya. Our founding fathers of the Constitution realized this essence of our culture. When we go to part 4, directive principles of state policy, we have in the miniature indicating Lord Krishna giving his advice at Kurukshetra to Arjuna. And go all through, you know it. But you have not been able to see it because it is not part of the books. I think the Honorable Minister will take initiative to ensure that the country is made available in authentic form only that Constitution which has been given to us by our founding fathers and constitutionally amended further, that will have 22 miniatures. Friends, we need to be extremely alert apart from our fundamental rights as to our fundamental duties. It's a time for us that we must turn out to be very good citizens. And from that perspective, I will make an appeal. Time is a constraint. I'll make an appeal. An individual. What can an individual do? An individual must immediately go to a new part which was added, Part 4, capital A, Fundamental Duties. Read them, 11 of them. Initially there were 10, one was added later on. When you will read those 11 fundamental duties, you will find these are fundamental to our daily life. It takes no expense. We can do it. We must always take pride in being Indians. भारतीयता हमारी पहचान है. इस महान देश भारत के हम नागरिक हैं. इसकी अप्रत्याशित, अकल्पनीय प्रगति से हम अभिभूत हैं. दुनिया अचंभित है. भारत का लोहा दुनिया मान चुकी है. दुनिया की संस्थाएं क्या कहती हैं भारत के बारे में कि आज के समय दुनिया में भारत सबसे तेज गति से बढ़ने वाली आर्थिक शक्ति है. We today, friends, are the 5th largest global economy. We have marched ahead of Canada, UK, France. In 2 or 3 years, we'll be marching ahead of Germany and Japan. We'll be the 3rd largest global economy. We can't stop at that. So there was a time in our illustrious past when we were at peak. We have to reach that peak. And the Prime Minister, with his vision, is working in overdrive to secure that Bharat at 2047 becomes a developed nation, a global power. Because our Bharat, as is the spirit and essence of our Constitution, it stands for peace, harmony, stability. The only nation perhaps in the world that has never engaged in frontier expansions. We have suffered invasions. We have absorbed those people. We never believed in. It is a time, for the first time in our history, that the world recognizes in diplomacy power of Bharat. We are guided by one interest of the nation and welfare of the humanity. And that is why the entire world acknowledged the excellent outcome of G20, which was a global high benchmark in our soft diplomatic power. ये मेरे कहने का मतलब यह है कि हमारे संविधान ने हमें सब कुछ दिया है. यदि 3 संस्थाएं, कार्यपालिका, विधायिका और न्यायपालिका, अपने दायरे में रहकर मर्यादित आचरण कर आगे बढ़ेंगे, तो भारतीय लोग इतने प्रतिभाशाली हैं कि कुछ भी उनके लिए असंभव नहीं है. I appeal from this platform that we are lucky to have highest brains heading these organizations. The executive is being led by the Prime Minister, a man who is a visionary, who thinks big, achieves with expedition, achieves for one and all, achieves at a dimension which we never imagined. We have robust judicial system. We have sound legislature. Let me remind you, boys and girls, when our Constitution was framed, you must find out who were the people who framed the Constitution. You will be enlightened to know that none of them was directly elected by the people. They were indirectly elected, one category, the large category. The second category was representatives of princely states. And the third, four, the commissioners, one was in Rajasthan also, one each. Then, while the Constituent Assembly was in progress, we had division of the country. So part of the contingent left. The number was reduced. They were fired by the zeal of nationalism. They faced some of the greatest contentious issues, divisive issues of language, of boundaries. They overcame all those things, not by disruption, not by disturbance, but by dialogue, debate, discussion, deliberation. Therefore, the segment to which I belong, by virtue of being chairman of Rajya Sabha, I sometimes wonder, when the executive is marching on fast track, earning global laurels, giving relief to more than 1 billion people, making available an ecosystem where every Indian can unleash his or her energy, exploit potential, realize ambitions and dreams, where a mechanism has been developed, where power corridors have been sanitized of corrupt elements, when there is rigorous enforcement of the constitutional essence, equality before a law. There is none who cannot be beyond the reach of law. Everyone is. Some people were in doubt. I am pained with events that take place when destruction of public property takes place. We take on the law enforcing agencies and declare we have won because the barricade has collapsed. Our judiciary is a robust system, manned by very gifted people. There will always be issues between three organs because we are in a dynamic world. But issues have to be ironed out, have to be moderated. They don't have to be on public platform. They have to be in a structured manner. But with legislature, we need to do some homework. How efficient your legislators are, boys and girls, is in your hands. You have to take a call. Would you want parliament or assemblies to be dysfunctional? Would you want them to be ravaged by disruptions, disturbances? You certainly would want. There should be debate, dialogue. We had a great legislation. Earlier we used to have Samvidhan. Now we have Vidhan. But to my utter pain, the legal luminaries, the legal eagles that dominate the legal firmament, none came forward in Rajya Sabha to make a contribution. When you have an opportunity, a historic opportunity, when epochal legal mechanism is being developed, we are being unshackled from colonial regime. Why did you not make your input available? Your participation was not there. Young boys and girls, we may be gone. We will not be around, most of us, when Bharat is at 2047. But each one of you who is present in this house is a foot soldier of this journey. You are taking glory of Bharat. You will be ensuring it be on incremental trajectory. You will ensure rightful place in the Committee of Nations what Bharat will be at 2047. And therefore, there are issues on which your silence will resonate in your ears for years to come. If you find something is unacceptable, please go by the diktat of your conscience, spirit of nationalism, belief in your nation, and try to put in correctional mechanism. इसीलिए मैं अंत में ये कहूँगा, हमारा संविधान का सबसे बड़ा सम्मान हम तब कर सकते हैं जब नागरिक की हैसियत से 24/7 हम भारत माँ की सेवा में लगे रहें। हमारी देश की प्रगति एक इतना महायज्ञ है, इस महायज्ञ में हर किसी के आहुति की आवश्यकता है। संस्थागत आहुति आएगी, पर सबसे बड़ा योगदान आम नागरिक का है, और इसका कारण है there is no one more critically, significantly stakeholder in governance than boys and girls like you. Your stake in governance is maximum. You would never want corruption. You want meritocracy to flourish. You would want that you have opportunities before you. Now you must know fully well, we are a country that is home to startups. We are a country that is home to unicorns unparalleled in the world. If you have an idea, put it in action. वो भारत के संविधान का सबसे बड़ा सम्मान होगा। मेरे मन में कोई शंका नहीं है कि भारत के उत्थान में जो भी कोई बाधा बनेगा, ये उत्थान का तूफान है। ये तूफान पॉजिटिविटी का है। ये तूफान ईश्वरीय शक्ति के द्वारा दिया हुआ है। ये तूफान दुनिया के हित के लिए है। हमारे 5000 साल की जो संस्कृति की विरासत है, उसको नमन का है। इट इज़ अनस्टॉपेबल। राइज ऑफ भारत इज अनस्टॉपेबल। लेट अस कंट्रीब्यूट टू द न्यूक्लियर स्पीड, रॉकेट स्पीड of this growth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Vice President, for your guiding and inspiring words. Thank you so much. मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से